Hey guys, Alex, I'm some of the... Wait. Alright, there we go. Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Star Wars The Bad Batch. Last time on The Bad Batch, we had Infested, where basically a guy named Roland took over Sid's parlor, and so Sid and the Batch basically took back the parlor and was able to also get the pikes off of everyone's backs too. And that was that. So, I guess that's actually... That was basically it. It was a good episode, very interesting. But, honestly, I'm ready to just get into the next one. So, with that said, why don't we just jump right into the next episode? Here we go. Oh, gosh. This is a clone trooper, isn't it? Yeah. What's happening here? This isn't Hauser, is it? Whoop! Oh! Got his leg! Oh! Got the rest of him.
Can't talk right now. Sending you a signal. I'll be in touch.
What's he doing all the way out there? Well, does it matter? We've gone on missions before without much intel.
No.
But this would be stretching it. Rex wouldn't ask us for help if it wasn't urgent. Echo's got a point.
May I remind you that we are in the middle of a job for Sid. If we deviate, we will not be compensated. No money means no food.
Oh, yeah.
No. Tech's got a point.
But Rex's friend is in trouble. That's more important than getting paid.
Well, the kid's got a point.
Man, everyone's got a point today.
Fine. We'll check things out. But I don't like it.
Meanwhile...
The Empire has canceled all of our contracts.
Is this the end of the...
Our success with the
Kaminoans?
clone army is known galaxy-wide. Surely we will find other clients who value our scientific advancements.
The Empire is not like the Republic. We have empowered them to our own detriment.
We're banking a lot on a clone we don't even know. Rex trusts him. And I'd trust Rex.
Oh, Echo's such a rag. Oh, this place is lovely in the day.
There's something here. Inside that mountain.
I believe you are right. My scans are being jammed.
You said there was nothing on this planet.
That data appears to be inaccurate.
Wrecker, you and Omega wait on the ship.
Wait, why can't...
Coming here was up for debate. This isn't. This looks like some sort of military base.
Not
Wait.
one that I've ever heard of.
What if this is... This isn't Starkiller Base, is it?
Let's get a closer look.
That'd be fucking crazy. I mean, for God's sake, how long did it take to carve that planet out?
I'm cloaking a couple of commandos, squads of clone troopers, and they've updated their armor. Let me see.
The mountain's natural composition makes this base well fortified and nearly impenetrable.
Those are stormtroopers, aren't they?
We'd be going in blind without any reinforcements. You did that on Skako Minor when you rescued me. I'd still be trapped in that place if you hadn't. If there's a chance
that's
that
true.
trooper's being held against his will, we have to try to get him out.
That's a good point, honestly.
It's still your turn.
Oh no!
Man, those are just straight stormtroopers. Although, the helmet's still a little different from later.
This doesn't make any sense. The muster report lists 50 clone commandos and 1,000 TK troopers.
TK Trooper. I'm not familiar with that designation.
How much longer? Almost.
So there's
gone.
only 50 clones here.
Found him.
Quiet, traitor.
That's Captain Trader.
Tuh.
Insubordinate plebe.
I like this guy. Plebes.
In that case, the name's Gregor.
Gregor?
Now let's move out.
Oh, why didn't I even think about that? Now everything makes sense with how he's talking.
I was an instructor. What's going on, Dick?
I keyed to code 16 to redirect their forces. I don't know what happened.
Clone codes don't work here. You just triggered a security alert.
Oh, great. Ah!
Is there another way off this base? Only one way out. Up.
I like how
This
D. Bradley Baker does his
is our
voice.
lot of clone troopers.
That's what I've been trying to tell you. These are our replacements, if you can believe that.
Yeah. The beginning of Stormtroopers.
I thought you said you trained these guys. I didn't teach them everything. That wouldn't be very smart, would it?
Nah. Okay, so that's it. That's very clever that he's not... He didn't teach them everything, so they wouldn't be better.
These recruits come from all over the galaxy and swear loyalty to the Empire. They're not as skilled, but there's an endless supply of them. Numbers out everything.
Oh gosh. Although... I mean...
You were saying...
So it's quantity versus quality.
Detour.
How can you be so relaxed?
Oh, I'm preparing. I'm charging up before I charge in.
Tuh.
We should have heard from them by now. What if something went wrong?
I'm sure they got everything under control.
You gotta go with the flow, girl. See how much they're going with the flow? They're still doing alright, honestly. And again, interesting, they're not killing, it's all stun. Oh man, this armor can really take a beating. At least a stun beating.
How did you even end up in this place? I was sent here with other commandos. And quickly realized I wanted out. It turns out the Empire doesn't take too kindly to desertion. Yeah, no kidding.
Nah. Yeah, been there. Oh, those prototype ties?
Keep it steady, kid.
I'll do my best.
Nah. Oh, she's flying. Tech's gonna be pissed. Uh-oh.
I can't hold it.
That is sufficient. I'll take it from here.
Nah.
Wrecker, get on the tail gun.
That was pretty good, Omega. Yeah, those are definitely prototypes.
Shields are down. We're losing power.
Uh-oh.
Bonky, we need you.
It's working. Systems are back online.
Oh, wow, good job. That droid had a lot of power, apparently. Oh! Hunter! Oh! Whoop! Oh no, that's not good. Ow, ow. Uh-oh, ooh. It's okay. He landed on his armor. Ooh. Ah, he's probably alright. Yeah, look at him.
System failures.
May have broken a few ribs, but... Oh no. You're gonna be captured. Maybe.
Get the ship out of here.
I'll find another way back.
Negative. The odds of escape are not in your favor.
Nuh. Never tell me the odds.
Go, Tech. That's an order.
Ah, dang it.
Hunter, tell them to come back. Order them to come back.
Sorry, kid. I can't do that.
Oh no. He's gonna have to surrender to them. Oh no.
While I never found your clone troopers to be overly impressive, I do believe you will be of great service to the Empire. A scientist I have use for. A politician I do not.
Ooh.
I'm afraid your services are no longer needed.
Uh-oh. Is he just dead? Lamasu just dead? Oh, shit. Crosshair.
I figured you'd show up.
I was hoping for the whole squad. But you do.
Okay. Alrighty, episode 14. That's a good point to end it at Hunter captured. I mean, we've only got 2 episodes left, I'm pretty sure. So I mean, things got to start ramping up a little bit. Alrighty. Oh, boy. Yeah, man, it's been a while since Hunter and Crosshair have been in the same room, really, where they weren't just shooting at each other. So yeah, this is a real reunion. And man, it's one of those things, it's like, my first instinct when Crosshair shows up is to call him a bastard. It's like, you bastard. But he's not really, because it's all the chip, you know? It's all the chip. It's not actually Crosshair. Oh, maybe they can figure something out and get him back, but I don't know. Excuse me. Like most of the time, this is the last video of the day, so I'm obviously tired at this point. But that's okay. That is okay. Because we're going to talk about this episode of The Bad Batch. So Camino. Camino may be completely wiped out now that they don't need the clone troopers, which, I mean, I suppose that does sort of make sense, because the Empire doesn't want any threats against it, and people that can create an army, which, an army that's, let's face it, is better, you know? And especially if they specifically create, if they specifically create clones like the Bad Batch, you know? But even then, if you just make clones, they're better, you know? So I understand why there would be this sort of, you know, that the Empire would want to get rid of them. Is that a mosquito bite, or am I just itchy? I think I'm just itchy. Okay, sorry, that was bugging me. So, I mean, yeah, these people that can just create an army, yeah, it makes sense that the Empire would want to get rid of them. So that makes sense. Although the whole thing of Rampart being like, "Oh, I've never found your clone troopers impressive." Like, really? Because your top trooper right now is Crosshair. Like, am I insane? Because, like, I don't know. I don't know. And especially, okay, so let's talk about the rest. First off, Rex sending the batch to find a reg. Did not even cross my mind that it could be Gregor. I don't remember if we've seen what happens to Wolf yet, because it's Rex, Gregor, and Wolf that show up in Rebels. So I don't, spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't seen Rebels. So I don't know if, I know we've seen Wolf in the Clone Wars. I remember episodes with Wolf, but I don't think we've ever seen him after Order 66, aside from Rebels, obviously. So maybe we'll get some of that later, but it was very, very good. Didn't even cross my mind that the reg could be Gregor, so I like that. And it's also interesting, too, because, you know, Gregor, among the three of them in Rebels, Gregor was sort of the one, he was a little zany, and it was like, oh, okay, so this is sort of the zanier, sort of crazier old veteran, you know? I like, though, that we come back here where he's, so much younger, and he's pretty much exactly the same, I do kind of like that he's basically exactly the same, where, he's got that laugh and, just the way he talks. Like, that was really clever. I like that. And especially, it's fun when D. Bradley Baker gets another voice, because that's the thing. This show is D. Bradley Baker talking to himself, with the occasional D. Bradley Baker is also talking to Michelle Ang. But for the most part, it's D. Bradley Baker talking to himself, and just hearing all the different voices. I mean, every voice within the Bad Batch is unique. Like, yes, Echo's is the basic. Echo has the basic Reg voice, but then between Wrecker, Crosshair, Tech, and Hunter, they all have different voices, And then you go to Gregor, and Gregor's voice is a lot different too, So I like that, I like doing that. So I did speculate that this base could possibly be Starkiller Base. I'm just going to assume that's not the case. And I should stop assuming stuff where it's like, I should stop thinking about, because between this and The Mandalorian, I've been doing speculation about, like, the sequel trilogy, like with stuff with Palpatine and the Snoke clones and stuff like that. Another spoiler alert, sorry. So I've theorized stuff about that in this and The Mandalorian. I really should just sort of let that go, because first off, it's a little too early in the timeline to be theorizing about stuff like that. And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, then I'm just sort of talking about nothing, Though I guess you could say that about all speculation. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, I'm just talking about nothing. That basically is speculation, but I'm just going to sort of tone back on that. But that was the thing I was thinking of, is perhaps this could be the early stages of Starkiller Base, because it would make sense that, yes, obviously, by this point, the Empire is already starting work on the Death Star. However, it would make sense for there to be, multiple projects, Krennic, as we see in Rogue One, he's working on the Death Star, whereas maybe there's someone else that is working on the Starkiller Base, same principles, just on a different on a different spectrum, basically, on a planet, as opposed to building the entire thing. So, it's entirely possible, but I'm pretty positive that's not what's going on here. But still. So, we did meet up with Gregor, which was pretty good. I like that. So, the clone troopers are coming in to train the new stormtroopers, which is interesting. And it's interesting because, like we were saying, when Rampart is like, "Oh, the clones have never really impressed me," and it's like, really, because your stormtroopers are shit. Like, they just, can we face facts and say that the stormtroopers are shit? Because they are. Even here, they're shit. But there is one thing where, I suppose, within Crosshair's squad, they're pretty good, Now, are they as good as Crosshair? Probably not. But I would imagine Crosshair is training them to be very, very skilled. I guess it's partly a matter of training. And I'm sure there are a lot of instances where clones are training stormtroopers, but they're not training them to be as good as clone troopers, as we saw here with Gregor, where he said, "Oh, I didn't," when the stormtroopers start fumbling and they're like, "I thought you said you trained them." And he said, "Oh, I didn't teach them everything. That wouldn't be smart. Now would it?" I cannot do a Gregor voice at all. We're going to scratch that off the list of voices that I can do. So, which I am actually keeping a list of voices that I can do. And it's very interesting to see, if you watch some of my other reactions, like Mr. Robot, you'll know I can kind of do Philip Price, or for some reason, I've never seen an episode of King of the Hill, but for some reason, I can somewhat do a Hank Hill impression. Now, I really can't do the ins and outs of it, but, Anyway. But, back to the Stormtroopers. So, the whole thing of, oh, well, they never impressed me. But, right now, it's interesting how they point out it's basically quantity versus quality. Whereas, the clone troopers were quality soldiers. But it's interesting they say that the stormtroopers, there's basically an endless supply of them. So they don't need to be spectacular. You just need 1,000, quadrillions of them, basically. But it's still interesting because all the clone troopers, you can make as many as you want, You can make as many as you want and they are all that skilled. Whereas then you have to go recruit people, So that's an interesting thing of... it's a very hard sell. I feel like with Dave Filoni and this show, they basically are trying to figure out how can they sell the audience on the switch between clone troopers to stormtroopers. And it's honestly a very hard sell because the stormtroopers, by and away, are not as good as the clone troopers. So you honestly sit here and think, well, then why did they switch at all? The only thing, and I mean the only thing that they have possibly said is quantity. And a bit of the loyalty. Because if you can get loyal people instead of, programming them with that, but even then, if you get a proper inhibitor chip, it works, So it's a very hard sell to try to convince, okay, why do they switch from clones to stormtroopers? And honestly, there is no logistical good reason other than, I think the only other thing they've said, and this is back in the first episode, the only other thing I think they've ever said is the cost. It costs much less to conscript a soldier rather than clone a soldier. That is the only logistical thing I could think for why they would switch. And, when you come down to it, soldiers, they're practically just weapons, When countries have to make these arms deals and, get certain weapons from certain manufacturers and everything, and they have to make these deals, and they have to save money. They can't just go spending money willy-nilly. They got to, have a budget. They have a military budget that's decided on by the government and all that stuff. And applying that to here, you're basically not only are you paying for all the weapons that the army has to use, you're also paying for this army. Now, yes, you do have to pay stormtroopers, basically. I'm sure they have some sort of a salary or something. But at the same time, it's the salary rather than the cost of birth, basically. It's the cost of paying someone to be a soldier and paying someone to make a soldier and then paying for that soldier, So that is the only logistical thing. There is no legitimate tactical advantage to going with stormtroopers rather than clone troopers. From a strategic military standpoint, there's really no reason. But from a governmental budgetary concern, that's the only possible thing I could think is that it saves money. And especially when the Empire has these grand ambitions, Orson Krennic is starting up his Death Star project. Who knows? Maybe Starkiller Base is starting up. There's probably another Death Star being made because that's how it, is made for Return of the Jedi. So there's all this stuff. There's new ships that are being made. We saw they seem like prototype TIE fighters in this. So we've got new ships, we've got new facilities, we've got new, new battle stations, all this sort of stuff. We need to save money where we can. And the first thing is, how about conscripting soldiers rather than growing them, basically? Instead of having a contract with Camino to create these great soldiers, we'll reduce the quality, but also reduce the cost. That's the only possible thing I can think of, Okay. Other stuff about this episode. Omega did fly the ship a bit, which was good. Keeping her steady, so that was really good. And I like, I like when Tech took over and he was like, what you did was sufficient. Now I'll take over. It's the closest thing to a sentimental compliment that I feel like Tech would ever give is, yes, your flying was sufficient. You know, like, that's pretty good. That's a glowing endorsement from Tech, I feel like. So that was good. Hunter was captured, which is interesting. Again, a good cliffhanger, especially going into the final 2 episodes of the season. That was really, really good. And especially, too, because he is the leader, he does give orders, so it'll be interesting to see how the batch gets along without him in order to try to save him. And then the confrontation between Hunter and Crosshair is going to be very interesting, I'm sure. And it seems that Lama Su may be dying. Now, it's interesting, I didn't even think that Lama Su doesn't do the science stuff. Nala Se does. But Lama Su is the politician. He's the prime minister. He's the one, you know, I would imagine he does the business side and everything. You know, he's getting these contracts and making sure everything flows efficiently. Whereas Nala Se is the scientist, making sure all of this stuff works, doing all the science stuff. So I never really thought of that, the two sides of the operations on Kamino. But now, the Empire no longer needs a politician. You know, they don't need someone to develop contracts. What they need is the scientist. So I'll be very interested to see, well, first off, is Lama Su dead? I would imagine Lama Su might be dead. But I'll be very interested to see what they're going to be doing with Nala Se. And again, yes, you can speculate. I'm not going to speculate too hard about the whole thing that we see with the Emperor and Snoke and all that sort of stuff. It's entirely possible, especially since Nala Se specializes in cloning. It could be something like that, but we're not going to speculate too far about that. Speculating on what it could be right now, I'm not really sure. It could be something, but I don't know. We'll just sort of have to see. But yeah, very good episode, very, very interesting, and I'm very excited to see where we are going next time. So that is basically it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my Star Wars The Bad Batch reactions, there is a playlist on screen, as well as another playlist which has all of my Clone Wars Season 7 reactions. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys next time.